Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri uddatam bil lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum, ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunushumme, washmale. Ohai benzaimes, guten Morgen, hola, bojo, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale Shuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasala, Marhaba, Buna, mucho gracias, Fabio, Balli Kare Aya, Hosh Galdin, and Ayasayo, Huyamora, Chivato, Chihajot, Kalimera, Khairuttan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning. Alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Ms. Haja Sati. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and today there's one realization that I have. That today when I went outside to check whether my geyser was working all right or not, it wasn't really that cold. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, hello Hajra, Assalamu alaikum, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam, thank you so much Jazakallah khair for introducing me. I do feel that it is becoming hot and cold, and I think we are expecting another spell of rainy season here, especially from the Balochistan, and we've seen that how many lives it has unfortunately taken, but obviously we're going to discuss and build the discussion further on it. But having said so, the weather is very confusing, like we talked about it for so many days. One day it's cold, one day it's hot, then again it's cold, then again it's hot, and we are really perpetually confused that what sort of clothes should we wear? Should we wear sweaters or should we wear more tropical sort of a season? But I guess this is how the changing seasonalities of the nature affect you, and it's great to witness this sort of weather in Islamabad. And considering the fact that Islamabad is still very clean, it's still very green as compared to other metropolitan cities of Pakistan like Karachi and Lahore, where you hardly witness any greenery there because there's so much mushrooming growth of these housing societies and the way they have slaughtered the trees to make more investment or urbanization that has been going on. But we hope and pray that Islamabad remains the same, because the kind of mushrooming growth of housing societies is taking place here. I think that's a very different Islamabad from decade ago or 2 decades ago, because we used to witness such a flora and fauna growing up here. But now we don't see that anymore, right? So we often talk about Jugnu, the fireflies. I hardly see it nowadays. We used to see so many ladybirds, so many butterflies. We hardly see it nowadays, right?
I mean, it's just because of the fact that you guys live a little far away from Islamabad. Yes, but for people who live in Islamabad, might still experience it. No, there's a reason why I'm saying so. So now imagine that just very recently, for all of those people who've been following my journey or probably, watch us on television, everybody pretty much around me knows that, I've shifted my house from one place to another. Now, where I've moved, the flora and fauna actually exists in a very natural phenomenon over there.
I mean,
Shukr alhamdulillah. But not just that. Imagine that even at night, I kind of get to hear those noises which I still cannot figure out which animal it is, so it's pretty much still exists.
The crickets chirping probably.
Yes, no, it's not just the crickets chirping, but there are probably foxes as well, and there are other, because I'm just right next to the Magla Hills. But not just that. I think what Hajra is trying to say, I'm going to actually 100% support that, because of the fact that, because of the urbanization that has taken place in the city Islamabad. And since we were born here, we've grown up over here, we know, how Islamabad was. So probably, people who are at the helm of affairs will take stringent notices of what has been going wrong, and not just that, in fact, try to make sure that Islamabad or other cities of the Pakistan actually kind of contribute towards the flora and fauna rather than contributing to the household industry. Not just that, because I was in Dubai just 2 days ago, I saw, in fact, this was my question from a friend, and I asked him, why do we see so many vertical buildings over here? Why not a lot of houses? And they said that there's so many people coming in every single day that if you have to go into housing, I think it will be a little difficult for us to kind of whatever land we have or whatever resources. That's one thing. The second thing, ladies and gentlemen, whenever we are to talk about the development of any nation, I think other than the economics of it or the finances of it, it needs to be kind of the healthcare systems that we get over here in the country. Now, it's very rare that you come across, a budding, young, entrepreneurial, skill set gentleman that, that who all of a sudden at the age of 30 years old becomes the chief executive officer of a hospital that he himself has made, alhamdulillah, alongside his family. And not just that, in a little span of time, they make sure that they're going to provide community service, community awareness. And most of the times we have seen that, that one particular hospital always contributes, whether may it be television programming, whether may it be free camps, may it be anything in terms of healthcare systems. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think to talk about that, we're very lucky that we've been joined by that amazing gentleman who now happens to be 2 years younger than me. He's just like a younger brother now. When I met him, I thought, okay, he might be an year elder than me as well, but that's not the scenario. Happens to be amongst my friends, alhamdulillah, but for what he has done is something far beyond that we kind of can probably imagine, you know, and it's because of the fact that he happens to be the Chief Executive Officer of the Maroof International Hospital. We have seen Maroof International Hospital expanding, you know, with 700 beds, and imagine it's just in a matter of few years, and this gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, has been at the helm of affairs as well. We will be in conversation with him. We're very lucky that we have been joined by the Chief Executive Officer, Maroof International Hospital, and I take so much pride in it that he is Mr. Haroon Nasir. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum salam, good morning. Well, alhamdulillah, well.
Thank you so much for joining us.
That's a very interesting conversation, because Shahzad mentioned that since you are not a doctor, but you are into the healthcare so far, how has been experience going on? Because obviously this is a very, I would say, a diversity of the field that you are into it, right? So what sort of challenges are you facing, and so far how has been your journey into this field?
To be honest, let me tell you about the health sector. I've always been telling my friends and family and the people that I meet that healthcare is where most of the professions come together. So you have doctors, you've got engineers, you've got technicians, you've got accountants, you've got lawyers as well in case you need anything. But it's most of the professions they come together. Nursing is a vital role as well. Now one thing that we all lack is hospitality. That segment needs to be coming to the private healthcare as well. But all of these combined together, they come and join forces, and that's when a hospital is actually erected and it serves the community.
And we have seen that, you know, it's not like a lot of years ago that Maroof International came into being. And alhamdulillah, as soon as Maroof was there, we have seen that they have picked up, you know, the kind of services they were providing. The doctors were very reliable. People would recommend doctors. But the question which gets to our head is that for somebody who was at the age of probably, you know, you became the Chief Executive Officer
at around 30, 31.
Yeah, see, so I was right with that as well. So you, alhamdulillah, are 34 now. It's been 4 years. How do all of those doctors, you know, for example, people, because you have doctors who have actually served in UK, USA and whatnot, from world over, experts, you know, you're working with. So for them to kind of come and see a Chief Executive Officer who's at the age of 31, it must be a little difficult as well. And when did you decide that, okay, I need to be the Chief Executive Officer myself?
So what happened was, you know, when I came back from UK after studying there, I studied accounting and finance there. And when I came back, the first thing that I did was I started at the grassroots level, which is obviously, I started at pharmacy, the front desk. I moved around into different units, and I spent around 8 years in different departments of the hospital. So I've been into HR, I've been into medical affairs as well, the medical staff affairs. Having understood the depth of whatever is required, you know, when you, for instance, if someone is coming to you with a particular agenda, you need to beat them at their game.
And you really need to watch your words as well, because they might be watching you right
That's
now.
perfectly fine. I love my team, and they know.
That's what Haroon is doing, beating us at our game.
No, it's just basically it's someone. There's two ways of decision making. One is inclusive and one is exclusive. So if you have a decision making process which is inclusive, it makes management pretty easy. But if you have decisions being done in your own office by yourself, it gets very difficult to execute them. So normally, you know, the way that we have, there's obviously highly intellectual people who are working with you. They come up with their agendas, and we have to discuss it. And you know, it's always a give and take and logic prevailing conversation. It's never something that, you know, if I'm saying this, it's right.
But there's always this one gentleman or lady, you know, because you being logical and the other one's being a little emotional as well, you know. So who's going to win in that debate? I think the emotion will always win, right?
I think it's a combination of both of the things, right? Because sometimes, emotions help, sometimes logic helps. But now let's move forward to your community support program, because Maroof has a very vibrant community outreach program. So would you mind elaborating what exactly sort of your ventures are, and how would you like to expand it? Because healthcare is something that is always in need, and you would always want that, especially I think for the Pakistan's rural population, they are in immense and dire need of that, right? So please explain.
There are two aspects to it. One is the short run, which is the community outreach program. What we're actually doing is we're heading out to the community areas. We're going to Kachi Abadi, we're going to rural areas, where we're going to villages, we're going to Haripur,
Marginalized
Kallar Saida,
yes.
all of these places we're assessing, we're going there, having free medical camps, and then we're also taking patients in which are funded by our trust.
Yeah.
That's something, now what we felt is most of the issues in the society regarding healthcare exist because of lack of awareness.
Okay.
And we do a major amount of work to increase that awareness amongst people. So we're doing medical camps on women hygiene, we're doing medical camps on male issues, we're doing medical camps not only on the health issues but the psychological issues as well, where we're counseling people, we're having those sessions where we're talking about family dynamics. So we want to give back to the community in its essence, not just label it as a camp and just go there and come back.
And you know, when we do such camps, or we conduct such free camps as well for awareness and for healthcare, what is it that, you know, that your hospital is actually thinking about, or your trust is actually thinking about? And do you think, have you ever been able to calculate the impact that you've made on the lives of the people?
To be honest, I have a longer goal. Maroof Hospital is a private venture, but Maroof Trust, I actually want in the next 5 to 10 years to build a hospital based on that trust. There are hospitals everywhere in the country, big hospitals as well, but I would want Maroof Trust to build that hospital. We have one hospital which is running free of cost in Bevel. It's about a 100-bedded facility, and then we have a basic health unit in Nalla Musalmana, which is just a outpatient facility. They're both running on trust, but I want it within the city, within Islamabad, Rawalpindi area, so that, you know, we can actually deliver and measure what we're actually doing. The outreach is great, camps are great, but, you know, what we're seeing, we cannot provide that level of care because of the financials that
and that's exactly what you're trying to do as well. So it's a bigger mission, it's a bigger goal, and may Allah be with you on this as well. Alhamdulillah.
Thank
now
you.
let's come down to where I would want to speak about, you know, what do you think are the challenges of the healthcare sector? Now imagine that we do know that, you know, public-private partnerships actually go hand in hand as well, and it's beautiful. But where we are to talk about, even if it has to be Islamabad, imagine that for the public hospitals that we have over here, people might not have that level of trust as well. And with the private sector, we do know that the private sector exists, and, you know, the services are highly professional. But there's not a lot of, you know, competition out there. You know, namely, I think people can say there are only 3 or bigger hospitals over here in the city. Now, for that healthcare gap, how do you think that your company and organization is thinking about, okay, finally, let's make sure that healthcare facility is available for everybody, probably at their doorstep, or anybody and everybody could come and cater to that?
Now, if you look at it as a nationwide issue, so there are 3 aspects. One is the primary care, one is the secondary, and one is the tertiary. And unfortunately, most of the load, the primary fails, the second halfway fails, and then the tertiary is loaded with everything. So if you go to bigger institutions which are tertiary care, there's a lot of primary care which has come in, and now it becomes very difficult. I'm talking about the public health setup. As far as the private is concerned, you know, one of the key things that we feel is an affordability in the country. And I feel that, you know, people coming in, doctors coming in from abroad, the equipment which is required, these are very expensive things, and in order for us to manage all of that, it requires the whole nation to be actually affording enough to. But what we could do, in our Ramzan, in our throughout the year, Pakistanis are known to be donating a lot of money towards charity. If it is channelized in the right way, I'm pretty sure that, you know, in terms of a private and public partnership, the private party can be a trust and the public can be the government, and then they can partner up to take up the primary facilities, and then once the primary facilities are in place and they're running effectively, then they take up the secondary facilities, and the tertiary is doing a good job. Let me tell you, the tertiary level care of public hospitals, they are on top of it, but unfortunately the load that's coming in it's too much, and obviously, you know, when the load is a lot, mismanagement becomes pretty easy.
Exactly, and when there's mismanagement, unfortunately, there are people, you know, who actually go undiagnosed as well, and then, you know, there are people, unfortunately, who will fall ill and sick, and because the apparatuses are not in place, you know, so obviously there can be a lot of loss and damages as well. In addition to this, now where we're talking about the gaps as well, Did you ever, or do you think that any public institution reached out to you for, public-private partnership that, okay, probably if, the primary healthcare or the secondary healthcare, or, all these 3 tiers of healthcare, if we are not good at that, why don't you contribute over here? Or do you think that your organization or trust is working, to make sure that we kind of become at par even with the public and the private partnerships?
Right now, to be honest, no one's approached us, and we haven't been able to approach someone for this particular agenda.
Reason being?
Reason being, there's a certain fear factor, regarding.
What's the fear factor?
The fear factor is, if you go into public partnership, even if it's, the changes and everything, accountability becomes quite a big issue, even if your intent is right.
Sir, वो ये कर रहे हैं, sir, वो ये कर रहे हैं, देखें जी उनकी practice ठीक नहीं है.
So all of that becomes an issue. But on the positive side, Indus hospitals in Pakistan have taken up an initiative where they're working with public institutions. And that gives us the confidence.
Okay, we can do that.
We can do that as well. But it's in an infancy stage. I think it's been about 3-4 years right now.
But still you have your reservations.
Yes, I still do.
Okay, now let me bring down to where obviously we want to talk about those transparent systems which are put in place, because we're talking about healthcare system.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to share an incident with you, and then you can let me know, because you happen to be the chief executive officer, solely responsible for the business that the hospital is going to do, because the doctors, the technicians, the engineers, the lawyers, everybody's salaries need to get paid.
Absolutely.
Now what happened was that, that one of my friends, he fell down from stairs, probably had to get him stitches. I got him to the hospital. I'm not going to name the hospital, whether it was yours or not. I'm not even going to say that. Doesn't look nice. So what happened was that as soon as I took him to the hospital, there was a guy who was probably, I think at that time, 31, 32 years old. It was an emergency case. He stitched him up, and then later on came up to me and he was like, sir, I think that, that the guy needs a CT scan. I was like, what makes you think that the guy needs a CT scan? Sir, because of the fact that I'm a neurophysician myself. And I was like, at the age of 31, how can you even tell me that you're a neurophysician or a neurosurgeon? Physician, I still probably would have admitted that, but probably neurosurgeon. And then I asked my gentleman friend, and I was like, do you feel fine? Do you think that anything's broken or cracked or something? He's like, I'm absolutely fine. And then later on, because the argument got heated and the gentleman actually confessed that, sir, I'm very sorry, I'm not a neurosurgeon or a physician, but because we are in your hospital, we need to make a little bit of money as well. And that's how the apparatus is run. Now, how do you make sure within your own institution that the transparency stays and that nobody's being overcharged and nobody's getting tested for things which they might not need to be checked up with?
Achha, Shehzad, there's two sides of the picture, right?
I know.
Achha, now, I'll just give you an example of someone very close to my father. जुम्मे की नमाज पढ़ रहे थे. जुम्मे की नमाज पढ़ते हुए सजदे में गए. He stood up and he fell down.
Okay.
And he hit his head. अब आप सोचें कि बंदा खड़ा हो और गिर जाए कोई नमाज पढ़ते हुए मस्जिद में. He fell down. अब now what happened was he was taken to a hospital, and this is a long time ago. He was taken to the hospital. He said, I don't want to get a CT scan done.
Okay.
He had certain symptoms. He had a lot of symptoms, but those symptoms were indicating that he needs to have a CT scan done. He did not have it done.
And unfortunately,
within a period of 24 hours, he had a stroke. He was in the ICU and unfortunately passed away. So one side of the picture is this, that, there are certain measurables according to which things are prescribed.
But yeah, for an expert to come and say and prescribe, I think is something that we would want to do.
Absolutely. Achha, ab jahan pe ye baat hai na ki, for instance, you're saying this is absolute. There is a very fine line between ethical practice and unethical practice.
Very sorry, I'm going to come back to this as well. We need to actually hurry out towards a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. The conversation is interesting.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, we were having that discussion. We would like to continue that discussion, but obviously since we are really short on time and because of the paucity of the time, so Harun Sahab, we would like you to ask about your future goals also, your expansion plans also, and obviously how do you navigate the challenges that are thrown your way every day. So please go ahead.
Yeah, as a youngster, and what people might think of you being on the other side of the table. For all the youngsters who are actually listening to you right now, please go ahead.
So first of all, being a chief executive officer, it's like having a very powerful V8 engine underneath your car.
True.
You don't have to just accelerate all the time just to enjoy that. Having the foot on the accelerator, just know that you have. So exercising power all the time is a cause for failure, number one.
Wonderful.
So it's always about, as I said, inclusiveness. You know that you have that, but everyone knows that you have that. You don't have to exercise it. I've learned that, you know, you need to have, and I'm one of those people. If you go to my hospital, I talk to the doctors. They'd say, "Yaar, Harun to matlab chalta phirta idhar aa raha hai." Yeah, we have that style of management where if there's an issue somewhere, I'd probably just walk to that place and, you know, sort it out there and then have a chat. And if it's formal meetings are required, then it goes to the boardroom and everything. So the style of management matters a lot. As far as, you know, this is concerned. As far as my future goals are concerned, there are two ways. One of which is we're going towards the expansion of our hospital, our healthcare services, and then there's the education services as well. But mein jo teesra vertical which Shehzad bhai we talked about was which is the trust element. So I want to build private hospitals along with a big trust hospital, which is going to converge together to actually help me make a medical college and eventually a university.
Inshallah, I certainly want you to do that as well. And you know, you're a source of inspiration for a million of children, youngsters who are out there as well. Please make sure that you continue to serve the people of the country, alhamdulillah. And not just the country, probably go abroad, man. You know, have your own hospitals over there, help everybody that you can touch, you know, touch all those lives. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's wonderful to have Mr. Harun Nasir over here, the Chief Executive Officer of Maroof International Hospital. What a truly amazing gentleman, and that at such a young age that he's doing so much for the people of the country and making sure that they're going to provide best healthcare facilities for the people. I think that's something that I'm going to love the most. I'm going to say, mashallah, Allah nazar se bachaye, amin sama mein. And with that, we're heading out towards a short break. Thank you so much for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we have something else to discuss as well. And meanwhile, please make sure that you take notes as well. I think because where he said that there can be too many different management styles as well, but with me, you know, obviously let's make it more inclusive. I think he's a people's man. I think I loved it. When you exercise too much power, it's a recipe for failure. That's a quotation which needs to be on the wall every now and then as well. You know, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, and obviously in the start of the program we talked about that how the weather is turning hot and cold and there's lots of rainfall which is again slated for Pakistan, and that too coming from the Balochistan, and we've seen that there's so much destruction that has been wreaked, especially in the Gwadar area. So we would like to discuss about it. So what are the problems that are facing there, especially regarding the sewerage system, and because we have seen in 2022 floods that they also started from the Balochistan and they started moving towards the north. So that was an abnormal sort of a fallacy that we saw in the weather patterns. And how can we deal with such sort of changing climatic conditions in Pakistan, inside Pakistan, because this is a new normal here that we are witnessing here. So in order to develop this conversation, because we have a paucity of the time, we are very glad that we have been joined by someone who is expert in the field. He happens to be a water expert and a scientist. He is Muhammad Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you for inviting
me.
So
Abdullah, we've seen that there is abnormality in this weather patterns, climatic changes, and we see that, you know, in 2022 floods, the rain spell was coming from the Balochistan and then started moving towards the north. So what is this abnormality in the weather patterns, and how we can become more climate resilient in this entire scenario?
So because temperature are changing entirely and global warming is happening. So what happens is that evaporation increases into the atmosphere, which causes more rainfall. Our Arabian Sea, it's getting more evaporation and it's causing more rainfall. So coastal cities are expecting more rainfall due to this climate change.
But then why did we witness a very dry spell? Because
the winters were entirely dry.
Yes, because I think the last rainfall happened in October, and then it happened in, I think, at the end of January.
Because I think that the evaporation decreases in winters, right?
Yes, yes. So that's you already know the answer yourself. So yeah, so I think, like I said, because the temperature is getting really warmer, which is causing more evaporation, and that's why we are witnessing more rainfall in summer rather than in winter, because winters are getting extremely cold itself. So because of this, we're having a lot of rainfall, and not just here, but also in Saudi Arabia and in other Middle Eastern countries.
Yep.
They also received a lot of rainfall. But here's the difference. In Pakistan, when it rainfalls, it converts into a flood, but in those countries, it doesn't. So we
Right.
can take a lesson from there, and also from our own mistakes that we made. Drainage.
So
Proper flood risk
yeah.
management planning, that was not there. If you look at those pictures, you will
But
see
that's not
those-
even out there in Dubai, you know, probably, you know, people of Dubai struggle, you know, so we keep on talking
Really?
about Karachi where people of Dubai struggle as well. You know, so every now and then, if it starts to rain in Dubai and if it's a heavy rain, you know, they will actually issue warnings where, you know, the kids won't go to school,
Oh,
people
really?
won't go to offices and whatnot. So it's not that it's all about drainage. I think whatever we developed on the kind of information and data we had was that, okay, this is the amount of rainfall that we have to get in a year, you know, so whether we need to develop some more infrastructure for that or not. But now, what do statistics suggest that how do you think Pakistan needs to protect themselves from these urban floodings? You know, we have seen cloud bursts, we have seen so many things in previous years because of climate change.
I agree with you, but also, of course, because we are lacking the basic management that Dubai is not lacking. If there is a flood, that might be for a few hours and that's it. But for us, it's for a few months, or at least for a few weeks, because of the proper management issues. So imagine if that country, which is the first world country, and it's still suffering, so imagine where we stand if we are not taking the right measures. So like you were saying, we really need to do the pre-flood risk management, not just the post-flood risk management. We always see in our country, unfortunately, we are more focused on the relief work
Yep.
or just going there and providing the aid, which is good. But why don't we start thinking that this time we're not going to give them any aid? The best aid we can give them is that they are just living in a flood-proof places instead of flood-prone places.
True, true.
So we do need early warning
So we
system.
need a
do
proactive approach.
Proactive approach.
And
yes.
you were talking something about the drainage system, and they're not very much developed, right? So I would like to pick out that part of your conversation and develop over that. So where do you think we are lacking in a sewerage system, in a drainage system? Because obviously whenever there's a rainfall in Karachi, we've seen that there's entire disruption of the city, and one of the main problems that is being talked about because they do not have a very vibrant sewerage system, right? So what can be done, kind of the resources that we have, and obviously we belong to a third world country, so how can we deal with this problem?
Because we have seen, you know, how DHA in Karachi has
Yeah.
actually struggled to get the pipes back in place.
Yes,
Oh yes,
yes.
oh yes.
So
It was a complete
if we
mess
look
though,
at
by the
our
way.
different cities, then with that example, I might be able to explain you in a better way. So if we look at Islamabad, we have a slope, we have a gravity, and we have
Yeah.
a really good plan. Even if we see we are not building houses where there are those water channels or the Barsati nalas, we say in
Right,
Urdu.
right.
Even in the parks, the water waves are
Yep.
going through. So we have given water its way. You know, you never fight with the nature. That's the thing we learn. Nature makes its own way. So we
Yep.
just don't go and sit there. This is first. Second, we look at the Lahore. In Lahore, we don't have much gravity, but the slope of the city itself, the pipe that they have managed, is falling into the river Ravi. River is not flowing,
Yep.
but at least the water is falling.
And
there.
then they have a canal system
Yeah,
as
and
well.
the canal
so, yeah.
system as well. So they know how to maintain the drainage. The problem with the Karachi is, with the urbanization, we do not
Below
have
sea
a
level
proper
anyways,
plan.
yeah.
And the gravity to connect it to the sea level is not there. It's almost like a zero gradient. And what's worse is that we are having a lot of, like you were mentioning, this private housing society. And not just this, but there are many others that are being built there.
True.
The ground level there is different. The ground level, let's say on DHA is different, Bahria is different, Gulchane Karachi is different.
Yep.
So they are different agricultural lands, or some lands they buy it. They're going to build a society. Let's say there is the main municipality that the Karachi administration has put. Okay, this is our main drainage system, planned for, let's say, 10 million people. Now there are 5 more million people. It's now the 15 million people. This society is higher. This one is lower. This is blah blah blah. They just connect their drainage
yeah.
into the main
Yeah.
line of the Karachi. It's choked. It's not working. There is no proper slope, there is no gradient, and the water started going backwards instead of flowing outwards.
Exactly.
So this was one of the main reasons when we are planning those societies, when we are giving them NOCs. I think the Ministry of Planning needs to make it sure that they are calculating it beforehand, and they are having extreme fines for not managing these water things properly
And
the way they
what
should
is
have
the
been done.
problem with the Gwadar? Because considering the fact that it's
There's no drainage, because we
developed.
were already doing this rehabilitation and the reconstructing of these houses from the floods 1.5 years ago. And if we look at those pictures on the screen, we will see there are like houses. It's like really rural area of the Gwadar, I think. And there is not even open drainages. There is no open channels.
there's nothing at all.
In the villages we see like those nalis.
Nalas, yeah.
In Gwadar there wasn't there, and unfortunately we reconstructed their houses on the same land which was already flash flood prone.
Oh.
So if we had the proper planning that hey, this is the channel, this guy was living here.
And that's something that we really need to kind of direct towards GDA, you know, the Gwadar Development Authority, and you know, for people who are at the helm of affairs, please, I think that we need to be mindful where we are talking about the infrastructure development, how so many people are going to Gwadar to invest, and we certainly need these things as well for a good living as well. But not just that, you know, I'm very sorry, but you know, I would want you to
just wanted to say this, that
Sure.
because the ancestral lands are there for some people, so we have to engage the local community, and we also have to, you know, convince them that, okay, I know you have been living on this specific path for generations, but now it's not the time. It's a flood-prone area. For some reasons, you were lucky enough, but now you might have to move. And also, in some parts of our country, all right, the slope gradients are not as much as they should be in the hilly areas, and people have built houses there, like we saw in the Swat last time when there was a flood. There
exactly,
was a big
and
house.
you know, obviously, you know, for people to understand, if the water is coming like this, you know, and you know, that's where the drainage is. How do you think that it's going to go to that drain? It's not going to pass ever. But now the interesting bit is that I think that probably Sindh government might be looking for a gentleman like you, who happens to be a water scientist. You know, you're working in Amsterdam yourself, Netherlands, where there are a lot of canals. We go to Venice, we see a lot of people, you know, living just around water, and it's not an issue. They have a perfect drainage system within their houses and whatnot. So do you have a solution that wherever there's no drainage, we see a lot of flooding, do you think that there's a solution with you where you can actually settle that issue for a lot of people within that community? What are the solutions?
The good news is that, of course, we have a solution.
Wow.
We have the facilities, we have the manpower, we have the intellectual and the intelligence that we required. There's a lot of great and talented engineers and the scientists that we have in Pakistan. We don't even need to export some people from abroad or something, but it's good if we want to have some.
Why did you go abroad then?
So that we don't have to take people from abroad and the son of the soil itself learn from them and come and serve
and
the
then come
nation.
back and serve you.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So the thing is, like you asked me what we can do. There are three things: pre-flood risk management, and then during the flood risk and the post. So if we manage that, if we have the proper planning, I heard that NDMA, I haven't visited the office, that they have the really great plans. The data collection they're doing with the satellite, they're using the GIS mapping and all those things, which is perfect. Gwadar is a simple city. We take the rainfall, we take the river and the coastal data, we map it, we know, okay, these are our flood zones, because we almost have to make that city from zero, from scratch. It's not very difficult because because it's already destroyed, so we can do it. There's not so much population, and we're building it for the future. So if we have the proper plan, just like exactly Islamabad, look nowhere, just look at Islamabad. We have sectors, we have one sector entirely for Jinnah Park, for the environment, for the climate. So if we do something like this in the Gwadar, we have a proper management, then we have a proper slope, and for the entire country of Pakistan, make a rule, any private society that is going to build, they have to first do the calculation, make the flood risk management plan and a drainage plan, and they will tell the government, this is the amount of residents I'm expecting to come here, and this is the amount of outlet I'm going to connect with your city's drainage, and this is my elevation of the society. And then the government should think, okay, is that person should be allowed to build a society,
and only then the NOC should be given.
And NOC should be given after that. Again, in Gwadar, we see during even this rehabilitation and reconstruction, they forgot about the drainages and the water
and the problem stays.
And the problem stays.
And the problem stays. But thank you so much. You know, it was wonderful to be in conversation with you. And at this point of time, I think there's this one amazing joke that actually came to my mind, and it's going round and round as well. And so there's this one constructor, you know, who's in conversation with somebody, and the constructor made a road and then went to get the payment, and they got the payment, and the guy who was giving them the payment asked them, what are you going to do now? He was like, we're going to break it now. You know, so okay, they go back, they break it, they come back, they make it, okay? And then he comes back and gets the payment. He's like, what are you going to do now? You know, your business is done. And then he goes like, okay, you know, there's going to be new government coming in, so we're going to break it again. You know, so I think for people you know, they really need to kind of think about it, whether how we really need to be sustainable in terms of infrastructure development, so that we do not have to go through these procedures.
This is the need of the hour, right? Because
Exactly.
Pakistan is very susceptible, it's very vulnerable to the climate change, and we have these conversations again and again, and we have seen the practical, I would say, adverse effects of that, right? So if we are not going to do that, this is a recurring problem that is going to be happening again and again, and obviously it is going to be a burden on a very scarce resources, because obviously we are a third world developing country, and climate change is not of our making, but we can make ourselves more climate resilient, right? This is where we can do it.
Exactly,
right?
which is why very quickly, you know, because ladies and gentlemen, there's one more thing that we would love to do today. But thank you so much, Abdullah, for being with us.
Thank
Lovely
you very
to be in
much for
conversation with
having
you.
me here.
Thank you so much.
And I'm very happy that I came back here and you guys remember me.
And we're very happy as well. Thank you so much. And very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, you know, so for that one gentleman whose birthday it is today, it's his son's birthday as well. So he's that one particular gentleman which I always, you know, end up arguing with him. And it's because of the fact that every time that we're going to go on air, he's going to play some depressing promos, you know, for our audiences. And I'm always like, yeah, we're going on air, you know, we have a morning show to do. Why would you on air such depressing promos as well? So we're very lucky, ladies and gentlemen, that it happens to be Mohammad Zohan's birthday and Talha Kamran's birthday at the same day, you know. So father and son's birthday together, mashallah. What beautiful timing that you've had. Alhamdulillah, that you know you and your son enjoy the same birthday as well. Alhamdulillah. So Zohan bete, happy birthday, and if you get a chance to come over here, please make sure that you do not play those sad promos which your father keeps on playing. And happy birthday, Mr. Talha Kamran. You're a great guy. You know, Talha, mashallah, actually he withdraws his salary from the morning show and does not really work for the morning show anyways. but he's got Halim for all of us. A very happy birthday to you guys, and may you guys enjoy and stay blessed, stay happy, and may you be that father which every son would want, and may your son be that you know, hope of ray of hope, you know, which every father wants as well. So congratulations to you too. Happy Hatch Day, and for everybody who's celebrating their birthday today, ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday to all of you. Let's sing the birthday song today.
So happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy
you have
birthday
many
more. I
more.
always jingle it up, you know.
Yes,
So, ladies
yes.
and gentlemen, I think for everybody who's celebrating, stay blessed. You know, make sure that whatever opportunity you have in front of you, seize it today.
True.
Make sure that your heart is full of gratitude, shukr, alhamdulillah. Until next time, look out for yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Have a great day.